All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson by giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Chakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us all this truth and who also rule and teach well. And Shalom to all the Achim in his truth and sincerity, starting with the 144,000 and the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, which we are fighting to be a part of. All right, and this is your brother Chabar Yakal coming back, Lord willing, with another quick and edifying lesson. And the title of this lesson is there's a reward for continuing. All right, there's a reward for continuing unto the end. All right, and I was basically just watching watching a lesson from some bros, and I believe it's the New Orleans camp, but they were just going into whatchamacallit. Matter of fact, let me show it since I'm still on it. But yeah, these brothers, which this brother got the same name as me, Shalom, to this brother. But I believe this is the New Orleans camp. But they were basically just going into the fact that if you're in this truth, the truth has to be the main focus. Not the world. Of course we have dealings in the world. We have to get our daily bread. We have to work. If you got a family, you got to tend to them. If you got a woman, you got to tend to her. But outside of that, we really don't deal with this world like that. Outside of, just business. And that's pretty much what they were going into, not being lukewarm, not straddling the fence. But one of the brothers made that point that the Lord, the Most High God, which his true name is Yahweh in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. His son's name in the ancient Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh Shai. All right. But he was going into, one of the bros made a point, that he's a rewarder. All right. Well, I don't think that's the scripture he used, but he pretty much made the point that there's a reward for, locking in the truth, and forsaking the world. So I'm going to get Psalms 119, all right, and 112. It says, hold up. I start at 111. It says, thy testimonies have I taken as an heritage forever, for they are the rejoicing of my heart. I have inclined mine heart to perform thy statutes always, even unto the end. All right. So basically the reason why I got this scripture is because, us as the hopeful elect, our goal is to endure unto the end. So we inclined our mind, to the ways of Yahweh Bashim Shai, coming into this truth. All right, we stopped eating pork, stopped, committing adultery, stopped, just being of the world. All right, we separated ourselves from the people of this world. All right, to the best of our ability, because like I said, certain bros got women that are of the world, but pretty much we changed our ways. We repented to Yahweh Bashim Shai, and now we're doing his work. Now we're confessing, confessing his name. We have this testimony now. So it says, I have inclined my heart, which is your mind. The Hebrew word for heart is lab, which means mind, I have inclined my heart or my mind to perform thy statutes always, which means always, even unto the end. All right. Which basically means to finish it. Matter of fact, let me get that, because Yahweh Shai said that. Yahweh Shai said that too. You know, the goal is to finish it, to get the reward. You know, you don't get the prize if you don't finish the race. You know, and I'm speaking to myself first and foremost. You know, because I'm trying to finish. You know, I don't want to come this far, you know, to not make it. This is John chapter 4 and verse 34. It says, Yahushua saith unto them, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work. All right. So that was Yahushua's mindset. So we have to take on that same exact mindset, you know. And that comes with suffering, you know. Taking on the mindset of Yahushua comes with suffering because he suffered. All right. But the suffering makes us perfect. Okay, I believe that's Hebrews, the 2nd chapter that goes into that. You know, suffering is what makes us perfect. It's what perfects us, the furnace of adversity. But Yahushua, he finished the work and he got the reward. All right, that's the point. I'm gonna get this. My throat's starting to get a little dry. Salakia. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 58. It says, therefore, my beloved brethren, which is the elect, the house of David, the beloved ones, it says, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. So basically, we just got to keep going, you know, because we're not doing this for no reason. You know, it's not like all of this labor, you know, from the elders and apostles of GMS on down. You know, all the labors that their elders did, it's not like it's just all going to amount to nothing, you know. Since this truth has been being pushed, you know, this whole world has changed, you know. The prophecies are unfolding, you know. It's lucky. You know, things are happening, you know, the world is getting shooken up. All right. So knowing that our labor is not in vain, and that if these bad things are happening and that was prophesied to happen, that means the good things are going to happen too. You know, we got to look at it like that. You know, if World War III is brewing and is on the brink of, you know, going critical, so to speak, if victuals are so good, cheap upon earth, you know, that they think themselves to be in good case, they say peace and safety. If all these things are happening, earthquakes in diverse places, wars, rumors of wars, all right, the love of many waxing cold. If the bad is happening, that must mean the good has to happen too. Which, what is the good? Salvation, you know, the kingdom of heaven, getting that crown, you know, getting that new, you know, immortal superhuman body, man. You know, if the bad is gonna happen, the good has to happen as well, because the Most High is a balanced power, you know. So I got a few more. I'm gonna go through them pretty quick. All right, this is Revelation 2:26. It says, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. You know, so the ones that overcome, you know, overcome what? The furnace of adversity. You know, all of the opposition that we face, you know, all the shortcomings, all the, you know, the roadblocks, so to speak, the inconveniences, and ultimately going through Jacob's trouble and, you know, making it through the hour of temptation without taking that device in our right hand or on our forehead, that RFID, chip, all right, which is the MOTB. So Those are the ones that overcame that. All right, and overcame great tribulation. It says, and keepeth my works unto the end, like it says in Psalms, the scripture I brought out in Psalms 119 and 112. You know, I have inclined my heart to keep thy statutes even unto the end. You know, that's our expectation. And that's the goal, to keep it to continue in this truth unto the end. Even during Jacob's trouble, you hold on to this truth until the very end, until Yahushua comes back in what the world ignorantly calls UFOs, which are really the chariots, the vehicles of the angels. That's how he's going to beam us up and save us from that nuclear destruction, which will destroy Babylon the Great, aka America. You know? It says, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. So he's going to give us power over the other nations, and we're going to rule over them. We're going to be their masters. You know, they're going to be our slaves. You know, that's what that's saying. It says, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I have received of my Father. So I'm going to end off with Hebrews 11 and verse 6. And the slaves, that's a huge part of the reward. What I just read, that's a huge part of it. You know, being able to have a crown on your head, sit on a throne, command people. You know, give people commands and they better listen to you. That's a reward, man. That's what we're fighting for. You know, we're fighting to be kings, man. To rule on the earth. To rule with Yahushua. Oh, damn. Hold up. I know what scripture it was. I know what. So I'm going to end off with this one. Hebrews 11 and 6, it says, but without faith and knowing, you know, and faith is believing everything that I just said, that there's a reward, that Yahushua is going to save us, that we're going to get slaves, we're going to get a crown on our head, we're going to sit on thrones. It takes faith to be able to picture that and actually believe that it's going to happen and keep going based upon that belief. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. So without being able to believe that, you can't please Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shah, because you're not going to do the work. You're not going to really believe. You know? You're only going to do this work if you truly believe. And that's why we continue doing this work, Lord willing, until the end. It says, for he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is. And that he, which that's what his name means, Yahweh. Yah is he. Hawah means is or exists. You know, his son's name, Yahushua, means he saves or he delivers. It says he is a rewarder, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. All right? Which in the NLT it says, and it is impossible to please the Most High without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that the Most High exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. You know? Hey, and part of the reward, I always think of this because the next scriptures talks about Noah. Part of the reward is after the destruction, after we get those superhuman new bodies, we're going to come down from those chariots and we're going to be able to enjoy a peaceful earth. You know, that's one of the rewards, because so many people are going to be sent back to the spiritual world. You know, Yahushua said, the slain of the Lord shall be many. You know, that's Isaiah 66 and 15. So it's going to be so few people left. When we come back down, the earth is going to be quiet, man. It's going to be a paradise again. You know, that's part of the reward. You know, as I mentioned, the woman, Isaiah 4:1. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Once again, giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, B'Shem Yahushua, B'Shem Chabudah, Shalom.